All right, hello and welcome into another edition of 8Sports Nightcap here on WRICnow.com on your WRIC Plus app. Nolan Knight here, joined by my partner in crime, Madelyn Frentress. Madelyn, thanks for stopping by to talk some ball. Busy week in the world of sports. Last week, post New Year's, it wasn't that crazy, but with the portal being open and all of these basketball games been going on, NFL playoffs, there's been a lot.
Yeah, 2026 has given us some instant classes from college basketball already, and NFL playoffs never disappoint, especially this year. I feel like this year, no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. It's been a little bit different, a little bit more parity, and it's been very exciting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's begin somewhere else, though. As you guys clicked on the title here, we're going to talk a little bit about the transfer portal. Virginia Tech and Virginia both have been making waves in the portal. It's been impressive out of both the Hokies and the Cavaliers, what kind of talent then they've been able to bring in this portal cycle. As it sits right now, it's January 14th, Wednesday. The portal ends on Friday. And here recently, the Cavaliers have hit it out of the park with their recent additions, and Virginia Tech, kind of since the start, it seems like they've been able to do a really good job. And we have the numbers here to prove it. But before we get into too many of the numbers and this guy was rated this and that, the big news this week was yesterday. It was announced that Virginia had signed former Penn State quarterback Bo Pribula to be its next quarterback over in Charlottesville. And that news kind of came at a perfect time, right? Because last week, the Cavaliers found out that Chandler Morris wasn't going to get another season to play, whereas a couple of weeks ago, they held a press conference where they were like, yeah, we're confident we're going to have him back. And so that was a big loss for the Cavaliers, the fact that they weren't going to have Morris for another season, especially after they went to the ACC championship game this year.
Yeah, and then this Pribula guy, it was funny enough, UVA faced Missouri, the school that he's coming from, in the Gator Bowl. Now, Pribula did not play in that game, but kind of funny how maybe there were talks while he was there, not sure. So yeah, that's a very interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, maybe he saw them play and was like, "Hey, this is the spot for me." There's a couple of different quarterbacks that were kind of thrown around for UVA this portal cycle. DJ Lagway from Florida was a guy that was on campus at Virginia. He took an official visit, and so it was clear that the Cavaliers were kind of swinging for the fences on that. And he was on campus before Chandler Morris was deemed ineligible for next season. So maybe they got some word a little earlier that Chandler Morris coming back wasn't quite as a sure thing as maybe they thought it was around bowl season. But talking about Pribula, a couple of different connections to the Commonwealth. He spent 3 years at Penn State under James Franklin, who, of course, now is at Virginia Tech. When Pribula's name was first into the portal, there were a lot of folks that thought that it was going to be Pribula going to Virginia Tech, but instead, he's going to be down the road in Charlottesville.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like everything in the college football world is now just a big circle. You know you, and you're from here, and it's just all, everybody knows everybody, but you never know where you could end up.
So it'll be his third team in 3 years. At Missouri, had a pretty good season, threw for 11 touchdowns, 9 picks, missed a couple of games due to injury, but I think he went 7-3 as a starter. Missouri didn't quite have the year that they had the year prior, but Pribula looks really good. He's really good with his legs, I think, needs to be said. And one thing we saw to Tony Elliott's offense this past season, when Chandler Morris was mobile and moving the pocket around, that's when they were at their best. And so not that surprised that they found somebody with kind of that dual threat ability that Pribula brings. But what's, I think, more interesting for the Cavaliers is yesterday, Eli Holston also committed to Virginia. And that was a name that I think many folks thought when he entered the portal that maybe he would go and try to be a starter. He was a backup for Pittsburgh last year, played in some of their easier games. Like he played against Duquesne. I think he played against Central Michigan. But in those games, threw for 12 touchdowns, had 6 picks. This was a guy that committed to Alabama out of high school. He was the top Alabama quarterback for that class. They brought 2 in. That was the same year that they were trying to get Arch Manning to come to Alabama and play. They didn't get Arch Manning, and they settled on this Eli Holstein guy, who then went on to go to transfer to Pittsburgh, and now he's at UVA. So they have two good quarterbacks. This kid Eli Holstein that committed and they announced is going to join the team last year. He was 40th ranked player out of high school, 94 overall ranking. I mean, this is a guy that was projected to be a Power 4 starter out of high school, and now UVA has two starters essentially on their roster. It'll be interesting to see if that's a quarterback battle, if they know it's going to be Prabula. I would imagine that they probably had to spend a little more money to get Prabula on campus, but overall, their transfer portal over in Charlottesville has been really impressive. In fact, we have some of the numbers here as well. But they were good in the portal last year, right?
Yeah, they were. They brought in. I mean, obviously, Chandler Morris is going to be the main.
A couple of years there, and
from transferring and all of his experience. Obviously, they thought he was going to get another year of eligibility, but Prabula himself only has one season of eligibility left. So, that's going to be something to look at. After this year, moving forward, can they bring the success that they had this past season with Morris? Can they kind of keep that ball rolling and stay at the top of the ACC? Like they were this year. Yeah, I mean,
last year they brought in Mitchell Melton was a guy that had such a big impact on the team this past year. They lost a couple of talent as well, which Trell Harris was kind of the surprise that he left the team. He went on to go to Oklahoma. I mean, had some talent leave for Nebraska, Arkansas. There's some really good talent. Emmanuel Carnley, he's going to Washington, but they've brought in some really good talent as well. I mean, you see Bro Prabula here, a running back out of Tennessee's joining the team, a corner from Rutgers, a Baylor edge rusher, a UCLA wide receiver, a Michigan edge rusher. I mean, they've gone out and really brought in some good talent. This one, Alex Payne, I think committed yesterday, that being the 13th. He's from Southern Cal. So they've gone out and kind of rebuilt their roster, and it's been really impressive. Let's look at the On3 where they're ranked in the On3 rankings here. I know they're doing pretty well. Yeah, number 3 in the ACC. The On3 rankings a little different than the 24/7 rankings. All of these are numbers, and it kind of gets in the mush when you look at it. But essentially what On3 does is it takes a look at the players you've lost versus the players you've brought in. And so Virginia's right up there with, Virginia Tech and Louisville. Obviously, the Hokies are doing really well this year. Part of that reason is the fact that it's a new coaching staff, and so it's a little different. You get a big influx of players from that coach's old school, which is like something we're also seeing with Penn State. So the Cavaliers, a couple of days left in the portal for them to kind of make some noise. You'd expect to see them maybe try to bring in a receiver after losing Trell Harris. They were able to retain a lot of their talent. I know they're excited. Almost their entire offensive line is sticking around, and that was one of their best part of their teams from last year. As for the Hokies,
we saw them at the top of that list as well.
I mean, what a portal season it has been for Virginia Tech by all accounts, right? And I think a lot of people are expecting this. And, you're bringing in James Franklin. The situation that he left, it wasn't like everybody hated him. It's like it kind of reminds me almost of like the John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin thing.
Yeah, the players, there were so many that came out. Obviously being an LSU person, it was a little bit different. The reactions when Brian Kelly was let go versus James Franklin. The players seemed to really all be very upset and want to stand with him. So I kind of figured that we'd see a lot of Penn State transfers come to Virginia Tech, which could be a pretty good thing.
We saw Harbaugh get fired. Like, it seemed like the Ravens just wanted something new. This has gone stagnant. The Steelers, it's part ways with Tomlin. Maybe it was time for everybody to have something new. Things had gone stagnant. It almost reminds me of that with Penn State. They had been so close. The message have gotten old. They were ready for something new. That doesn't mean that Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh aren't going to be the most wanted coaches in all of the NFL. It reminds me of that situation a lot, whereas Virginia Tech says, hey, we'd love to have you come in. And it's clear that the players, he hadn't lost the locker room. And what he has brought in has been really impressive. The big news today, as you see in our headline, they got a big quarterback transfer commitment. It was reported on, we reported on it even about 10 days ago, that Ethan Grunkemeyer was going to join James Franklin in Blacksburg here on the 14th. That has become official. He posted on his Instagram today that he's going to be joining the Hokies, kind of the crown jewel of if you will, of this transfer portal class. Last year, a starter for Penn State in those last 7 games, won the last 4 games of the year.
Yeah, after Drew Aller was benched, he led the
injured.
Yes, he was injured, and then right. So
Grunkemeyer took over.
They got off to a 3-3 start, so obviously not great. And then the James Franklin fire happened, and they played Indiana and lost. But obviously, Indiana's about to go to the national championships. I don't think anybody faults them for that. But then he led them to 4 straight wins at the end of the season, and he also set a program record with a 69.1% completion percentage. So I noticed at Tech also, we talked about them also getting UNC Tar Heels quarterback Bryce Baker as well. So there may be, another situation where, there's maybe a little bit of a quarterback battle come fall camp. Yeah,
Bryce Baker was an interesting ad for the Hokies because they knew they were going to need more talent in that room. Pop Watson had entered the portal. He, of course, started a couple of games for the Hokies over the past couple of years. I think he ended up at UMass is where Pop Watson ended up at. And so they knew they were going to need a little more talent in that room. They go and get Bryce Baker. Bryce Baker was at Bill Belichick's opening press conference.
Yeah.
He was a guy that UNC thought they were going to build around. He was a top 300 recruit out of high school. A lot of talent. Didn't see the field much after they brought in Gio Lopez from South Alabama last year. I think Lopez ended up entering the portal, but he wanted a new home. He wanted out of that situation in Chapel Hill, and he's going to be with Virginia Tech. Clearly that didn't. He wasn't worried about the fact that there was rumors that Grunkemeyer was going to come. Grunkemeyer's not worried about the fact that Bryce Baker's going to be there. I think it's a similar situation that's going on at Virginia where you need 2 good quarterbacks.
Yeah,
you can't have a walk-on be your backup.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, I feel like so many players are getting hurt every day, every game, all the time. So you got to have a quality, backup guy that you can trust, that's going to have that maturity and that experience to get you through, at least until your starter comes back.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech has done a really good job of this entire portal cycle. What I have on the screen here is the look at the On3 transfer portal rankings. Kind of touched on it a moment ago. On3 does a thing where they look at your guys going out versus your guys going in, and they give you a score for that. And Virginia Tech is along the likes of Ole Miss, Florida, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Indiana. They're number 3 in the country, and you might think, well, how good is this of a benchmark to judge your team? Look back to last year's 2025. For, Texas Tech, LSU, Ole Miss, Oregon, Miami are your top 5. How many of those teams were in the college football playoffs this year? 4 out of 5, other than, unfortunately, your LSU Tigers. But besides the point, clearly this index can kind of show you an idea of that your teams are getting better using this system. I've just clicked on an ad, and that's okay. But just overall, even looking at the 2026 transfer portal team rankings, this is kind of an overall overscope, how many guys you brought in. It's a little different. Penn State has 35 commits. They're real high on this. That's because a lot of those guys, they got so many commits from Iowa State. A similar situation with Oklahoma State, new coach, LSU, new coach, and Virginia Tech's right up there, new coach. They've brought in a lot of guys. But even if you take this
even if you take them at number 11,
they're 11th in the country. When's the last time Virginia Tech's been 11th in the country? Probably 2011. So it's been an impressive portal cycle for the Hokies. But then again, all of these are rankings. Most of this comes from high school recruiting rankings. So how much weight can you really put on it? Obviously, it gives us something to talk about in January. But it is interesting to see, to say the least, how different the Hokies and Virginia will look next year, and things seem to be on the upswing in the Commonwealth. When was the last time that Virginia Tech and Virginia both won 8 games in the season? It's only been done like twice since 2000. So us as reporters that get to cover these teams, it's kind of exciting to see the momentum headed this way, and with the momentum and success brings more interest from our viewers and everyone in the region as well.
Yeah, I would go out on a limb and say that the Commonwealth Clash game next season is going to be pretty special. And obviously, when both of those teams are good, it makes our job a lot more fun. So
absolutely. Well, that's enough transfer portal talk. I know that's kind of boring for some folks that aren't a fan of either team, but
it's hard to keep up with.
It is impossible to keep up with, and it's been nuts to follow. And some bigger news: the NFL playoffs are going on. What a weekend, wild card weekend it was. Obviously, you were working. I know you were running back and forth from UVA, this and that. Did you get to see any of the games? Some of them are unbelievable.
I got to see a little bit of the Bills-Jags game.
Yeah.
That very last play, Cole Bishop intercepts Trevor Lawrence to end the game. The Bills' defense coming up clutch for Josh Allen is not something that I feel like we're used to seeing, more so the other way around. So that was cool to see that, everybody's been saying, this is the year that Josh Allen has to get over the hump because there's no Lamar Jackson, there's no Patrick Mahomes around to kind of get in his way. So, good to see them get the win. I mean, you feel for the Jags too because they had such a good season and, under their new coach. But the future looks really bright for them. I feel like their window is kind of maybe just now opening, whereas, the Josh Allen window, not that he doesn't have plenty more years on his career, but I feel like if there's any year that the Bills could do it, it may be this year, like a lot of people are saying. So I did get to catch the end of that game. Were you able to catch any of the games?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were watching a lot of ball this weekend. What a weekend it was. Let's look at some of the odds for this week's games and maybe kind of go through each team, what you saw last week, what you expect this week. The Broncos 1.5-point favorites over the Bills, who you just mentioned. Obviously, the Broncos in a situation of they didn't play last week. We saw that kind of have rear its head right in college football, where if they had taken that week off, hurt a lot of teams. And that matchup, I like Denver in this game. I love Bo Nix. I'm a Bo Nix believer, but I think Josh Allen is the best quarterback left, and I think that's what it takes to win in the playoffs. So, spoiler alert, that's what I have for my Super Bowl champion here in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Seattle, a 7-point favorite over the 49ers. Obviously, they're dealing with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, no George Kittle is going to be a killer.
The Rams 4.5-point favorites over the Bears, which kind of surprises me. Because I think Stafford's a little banged up. I think that'll be a closer game than that. The spread,
high scoring,
spread 3.5 now, open at 4.5. And the Patriots, another one of those teams, they had the bye week last week, and they're taking on the Houston Texans on Saturday at 3:00. They're 3-point favorites over the Texans, who on Monday put on a display.
I'm taking Houston. I'm sorry. I like a dog. I mean, just the way that they came out in the fourth quarter against the Steelers, and not to mention, I mean, people have been saying that maybe the Patriots have had a bit of a cupcake schedule. I looked at it before we did this, before we started this, and I didn't realize that they weren't lying. I mean, it's like New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland. I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're right. So, I mean, I don't know. If I'm going to pick any of the dogs out of these 4 games, I'm picking the Texans. Yeah,
I don't hate you for that. If I had to pick, I mean, 1.5 is nothing, but I like Buffalo. Do you have out of these 8 teams, who do you like to see playing on Super Bowl Sunday, or rather winning on Super Bowl Sunday?
Ooh, winning the Super Bowl. I don't know. I want to go. Oh, I want to go with Seattle. I really do. I feel like they're the team that their defense, the complementary football speaks to me the most, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, my only kind of pullback on that is Sam Darnold and trusting him in big games. We've seen that he can win the big games, but can he win the biggest game? I don't know. But I feel like their defense and their offense with JSN and those guys, they complement each other really well. So I don't know. I like Seattle to win the Super Bowl. But if Josh Allen and the Bills are on the other side of that, I feel like it'll be a really good game.
Yeah, if I'm going to say something nice about the Seahawks, I think of all of these teams, you combine the best defense and best offense. I don't think they have the best defense. I don't think they have the best offense, but I think
But when you put them together,
they
complement each other.
They have one of the best offenses with one of the best defenses. That 7 points is a lot on Saturday night, though. So excited for another weekend of football. Excited another weekend of college basketball. Here Wednesday night, a few minutes after this will air, we got a busy night of college basketball. Richmond's at home, VCU's on the road. I think both the Richmond and VCU women are in action as well. Busy night of hoops. UVA got a big win last night on the road at Louisville. Virginia Tech takes on SMU. You were in Charlottesville this past weekend. Got to see Ryan Odom up close and personal once more for they were playing Stanford, right?
Yes.
Big matchup. Got a big win at home. Swept the teams from California. They played Callan last Wednesday, Stanford on Sunday, or rather Saturday. What'd you see from the Wahoos this past weekend?
They just really impressed me with their defense and their paint presence. Like Tester Ritter there was no answers for him in the paint from Stanford. I mean, he just owned it in there. And then Onyenso with his blocks, I think I saw somewhere where he's top 10 in the country with blocks right now. And he just uses that height so well, just so physical in the paint. And it just felt like Virginia was in control the entire game. They could have only been up by, 6, 8, whatever, but it felt like they were in control this entire game. And I'm very excited to see where this team goes. And Odom is just, he just feels like such a solid, game manager and leader to them. And they're a fun one to watch.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love covering Ryan Odom when he was at VCU. Obviously, their A-10 championship team last year was incredible, and I feel like get to know Ryan Odom even better last night following the game. Normally open the press conference talking about how the team did, especially a big win like that. They beat Louisville last night handedly. I think it was by 9 points. Don't know the final score off the top of my head. On the road at the KFC Yum Center. If you haven't been there, it's like bigger than an NBA stadium. It is unbelievable. The KFC Yum Center is in downtown Louisville. And he opened his press conference, not talking about his team, but rather talking about a former colleague of his, Bill Courtney. This season was an assistant for Temple. He's actually from Fairfax, Virginia. Previously worked as an assistant at Bowling Green, at George Mason, Providence, in Charlottesville at UVA, and then he was an assistant with Ryan Odom at Virginia Tech under Seth Greenberg. From there, he spent a few years as head coach of Cornell, a guy that everybody in the world of basketball knows. And Ryan Odom showed, I think, a lot about himself in terms of the compassion that he has for his players and his colleagues, but also a compassion as a human and things that affect all of us. And of course, with Bill Courtney passing yesterday, he decided to open his press conference with this, showing some raw emotion. Let's check it out.
And to so many in this business, and opening statement has nothing to do with basketball. Honestly, I want to make sure that I say this. We lost a dear friend in our coaching profession today. Bill Courtney, who was currently an assistant coach at Temple University, but was an assistant coach at UVA. He and I worked together at Virginia Tech, and for a couple of years there. And he's just been a dear friend to so many in this business. And it just is a reminder for all of us. Wins, losses, things that happen. In our game, we get caught up in sometimes, and we lose sight of, what's most important in our loved ones, our friends, the family, being there for one another. And nobody did it better than Bill Courtney. No one. Every day that he came in to the office, he had a smile on his face. And he made people happy. He made his players happy. He made his coworkers happy. And he made his family, most importantly, happy. And so he's going to be dearly missed.
So there you go. That was head coach Ryan Odom on the passing of his friend Bill Courtney. I think he says a lot about Coach Odom and the compassion he has for life and the relationships that he has with his players. When he was here, one thing we heard a lot from Max Schulga and Joe Bamasiel was their relationship they had with Ryan Odom. Obviously, that was about the passing of Bill Courtney, but for him to kind of open up and be honest and be open for his first statement, I think says a lot about him.
Yeah, just using his platform like that when he knows that everybody's watching, just bringing forth something that's, kind of bigger than basketball, I think really speaks to his character for sure.
Yeah. As mentioned, busy night of college hoops tonight on Wednesday, January 14th. VCU is on the road at Rhode Island. Richmond's at home. Who are they facing off against tonight?
Oh, off the top of my head, I am not sure, and I'm going to the game.
Big matchup
I haven't
tonight
written my preview story yet, so I have to look.
LaSalle,
yes.
the Explorers, should be a win for the Spiders. They looked really good this season. As for VCU, they kind of got it. They could really use a win tonight.
Richmond could too.
Yeah.
They've dipped just a little bit, especially on the defensive end. So they're going to need the win that I think they're going to get tonight.
Yeah.
VCU, too.
VCU lost their last two this past Saturday. Went up to George Mason, lost by 6, 86-80. George Mason's only lost one game this year, though. St. Louis is another team that looks like a tournament team. That's who they lost to on Wednesday. Rhode Island's no easy team to play either. So they got their work cut out for them this weekend. We'll have it covered tonight at 11. Madelyn with a full recap from Richmond's matchup against the Explorers. So be sure to stay tuned in to 8 News tonight, because it should be busy here on Wednesday, but throughout the weekend, as we're having covered with all the biggest games taking place. Virginia Union, Virginia State plays on Saturday as well. We'll have you covered with all the latest. So thanks so much for tuning in to the Nightcap. We'll see you next week with another edition. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.